Five Nights at Freddy's is one of the biggest franchises in modern media. Starting out as a simple point-and-click horror game, Five Nights at Freddy's has since grown into VR games, first-person survival horror games, books, a movie, and hundreds of toys. Five Nights at Freddy's, or FNAF, is something I've covered extensively on this channel, from videos about the entire series thus far, to me making my own theories about the games. But today, I wanted to do something a little different. See, the newest FNAF game releases in less than a month, and unlike the other ones, this one is a direct adaptation of one of the books, specifically one of their stories from their anthology series, Fazbear Frights. The reason that this is important is because in the past, fans could never agree if the books took place in the same universe as the games or existed in their own separate universe. Some fans believe the books are trying to help us understand the story of the games, while other people believe that they're a completely separate story and the two should never be in the same room together. But with this new game being based off one of the stories in the books, it now brings into question how useful the books are to the overall story and what it could mean for the future of the series. And that's what I want to talk about today. What the actual book of Into the Pit can tell us about the game before it releases next month, what we can expect from this new game, and what it can mean for the future of the series. I'm also not sure how closely the book story is going to influence the game story since it isn't out yet, so I'm just going to put a potential spoiler warning just in case. I think the best place for us to start is recapping the Into the Pit story so we have an idea of what to expect in this new game. In the book, we're introduced to Oswald, a kid who's moving back to his hometown after his dad loses his job at a mill. It's the start of summer break, and Oswald sees all of his friends going to the beach, traveling, going to camp, and he's stuck in his hometown getting dropped off at the library every day while his parents are at work till about lunchtime when he heads next door to Jeff's Pizza for a slice before his dad picks him up and takes him home. This cycle continues for several days where Oswald goes to the library, goes to Jeff's Pizza, and then goes home day after day. One night, he's texting his friend Ben and hears all about the great summer he's having and how he feels sorry that Oswald's summer is so lame. This naturally frustrates Oswald, and the next day, he takes it out on his dad for forcing him to have such a lame summer. His dad apologizes and tries to explain that money is tight for the family, but Oswald is hearing none of it. So, later that day, he decides to pull a prank on his dad. While eating lunch, Oswald notices an old ball pit in the back covered with "Do Not Use" signs. Oswald decides to hide in the ball pit when his dad comes in to pick him up from Jeff's Pizza so he can freak him out a little bit. However, once Oswald gets in the ball pit, he quickly learns that it's not a normal one. This ball pit allows Oswald to travel through time.
A time-traveling ball pit? Really?
Hey now, didn't you make fun of me enough in my Balatro video? Okay, I will admit, a time-traveling ball pit is strange, but in a series with possessed animatronics, undead serial killers, and a computer program that takes over people's bodies, is it really that strange?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Fair enough. Anyway, Oswald finds himself in a completely new pizzeria. He finds himself in Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. That's right, the old pizzeria Oswald was visiting every day used to be a Freddy Fazbear's location. Oswald quickly makes friends with some of the other kids and finally starts having a fun summer, but he soon realizes he needs to get back home so he can see his dad, so he heads back through the ball pit. But someone notices him get back in the ball pit. A certain golden rabbit that we all know and love. Oswald starts visiting the pizzeria in the past every day, hanging out with his new friends and attracting unwanted attention. One day, after heading through the ball pit, Oswald notices something is very wrong. All of his friends are gone and their parents are frantically looking for them. He notices the golden rabbit wave him towards the back room. Oswald follows and makes a horrific discovery. He finds out where all the other kids disappeared to. Mortified by this discovery, Oswald quickly runs away, and he manages to escape into the ball pit. He crosses back into his own time, but he doesn't go alone. The golden rabbit follows him through the ball pit and kidnaps his dad. Then, the golden rabbit springs out of the ball pit, grabs Oswald, and takes him out the doors of the pizzeria. He buckles Oswald into his dad's car before getting in the driver's seat and drives Oswald to his house. Then, Oswald gets tired and goes to his room. Then he texts his mom, who comes home from work, only to find that everything is normal and scolds Oswald for making her leave work. Then Oswald goes to bed, and he wakes up to find the golden rabbit at the breakfast table, and his mom is just making breakfast like nothing happened. Then the golden rabbit takes Oswald to the library like his dad did. So the rabbit is now his dad, and nobody notices that he's not talking or eating. Sure, why not? Oswald goes on a walk and meets a girl named Gabrielle, who tells him about a book she's reading about Greek mythology and needing to be brave during difficult times. With this newfound confidence, Oswald sneaks into Jeff's pizza at night and digs into the ball pit to find his real dad. But uh-oh, the golden rabbit followed him and attacks Oswald. He bites Oswald before going after his dad. But, remembering to be brave, Oswald wraps the netting of the ball pit around the golden rabbit's neck, finally defeating it. Oswald's dad wakes up and the two walk home together, not questioning the giant dead rabbit. And that's the whole story. Well, that was something. I'll admit the first half was pretty good, with Oswald getting to see the pizzeria before and after the kids' disappearances. The time-traveling ball pit could have been a cool idea if they leaned into the mystery aspect of Freddy Fazbear's. Like maybe Oswald had to piece together what happened to the missing kids and the pizzeria, and maybe even tried to save the kids, not realizing that his changes to the past would affect the future. Like maybe he accidentally creates a future where one of the missing kids survives, ends up dating one of his parents, and causes him to never be born. You know, there's a lot you can do with this idea, but instead they switch into a weird body swap scenario. Like, the ball pit's a time machine and a body swap device? Does this mean his dad was killing kids in the past with the serial killer possessing his body? Or was he just chilling in the ball pit for the last few days? It just feels so messy, like they wanted to tell two different stories, and they decided to awkwardly combine the two of them. However, just because the book's story wasn't great doesn't mean the game story has to follow the same path. So, let's see what we know about the new game and see if we can get an idea of what to expect. From the Steam store description, it looks like we're going to be traveling between both timelines to gather clues, solve mysteries, and try to save the other kids and our dad. This description already hypes me up because it looks like the game's going to lean into the time travel mechanics rather than that strange body swap mechanic from the book. But this does raise an interesting question. See, one of the biggest parts of FNAF is its timeline. Players will spend hours arguing which games happen in which order, what major events happened when, and what the full story of all the games is. However, once you introduce a time travel mechanic that has the ability to alter the timeline, making it so games or events are no longer considered part of the official timeline, it could make a lot of fans angry, since a lot of them have an idea of what the timeline is supposed to look like.
The sacred timeline.
I, however, welcome something to clean up the FNAF timeline. FNAF has always had a messy timeline, with different games having different endings, being developed years apart. I mean, these games have been going on for almost 10 years. Wait, has it really been 10 years? Let me check. Oh god, the first FNAF game came out in 2014. God, I'm getting old. Anyway, with 10 years worth of games, it makes sense that the story would change over the years to keep things fresh, and I wouldn't be surprised if there were bits of it that Scott and the team wanted to retcon. And while this might upset fans who have crafted their own sacred timelines, it could open up FNAF to be more approachable to a general audience and grow the fan base with new fans. I mean, speaking as someone whose first game was Security Breach, I had absolutely no idea what was going on the entire time. And while I like the game, I could see why people would want to put it down and never revisit the franchise. It's great for the games to have mysteries and an extended story, but if I'm expected to play 10 games, read 20 books, watch a movie, just to have a hope of understanding this new game, then this game has already failed. A game needs to be able to stand up on its own without requiring the player to do a bunch of homework before playing, something that general audiences can pick up and play, while also giving story breadcrumbs for the hardcore fans. That way, new players can decide if they want to try out the other games and grow the fan base, while existing fans can enjoy another game in the series and add more pieces to the overall puzzle. And I think that's going to be Into the Pit's biggest strength. Since we're traveling back in time to where the original disappearances happened, it gives players a chance to explore the backstories of the game, while also seeing the ramifications of it in the future. It's a way to introduce new players to the lore without overloading them with too much information, something to help bridge the gap between new and old fans. While reading the book left me nervous for the game at first, seeing the potential it could have left me very optimistic, and I for one can't wait for its release in August. But what do you guys think? Are you excited to play the new FNAF game, or are you going to give it a pass? Do you think FNAF should focus on ways to make it more approachable for new fans? Or do you think they should focus on their existing fans? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya!